Narendra Modi was accompanying Shambhaji Bide, called him Guruji. He was the main perpetrator of the violence. Those who perpetrated violence were let off. Those who criticized the violence, stood by the victims, were booked under this case. Incriminating documents were introduced into the computers of the accused without any knowledge to them, using a malware. This case is unconstitutional. This is a fake case. There is a fake evidence. The whole conspiracy is hatched in Nagpur headquarters. Wherever Rao, health is deteriorating, but High Court cancelled the bail. Modi's hands and Amit Shah's hands are full of transform his blood. Unless we wake up, this country is going to reenact Hitlerite Germany. Comrades and friends, I would like to apologize for not being able to speak in your language. I don't know even a single word of your language except Vanakkam. And I cannot speak in my own language because you will not be able to understand. So I am forced to speak in this colonial language. Anyway, there are a number of august speakers here. They will be able to tell you about the history of Bhima Koregaon and the case. I would like to touch upon only 5 or 6 major issues of this case and the incarceration and the unjust nature of the case, the fake, concocted nature of the case. First arrest of Bhima Koregaon case happened on June 6, 2018. That means for 4 years, for the last 4 years, more than 1440 days, those people are lying in jail without trial, without bail, though Indian jurisprudence says bail is rule and jail is exception. In this case, for 4 years, there is no bail. At least half a dozen times their bails were rejected. And we are here meeting in honor of those 5 first arrestees, and later 11 people were arrested. Out of those 16, one person, you are all well aware, Father Stan Swami, he was executed without a death sentence, without a trial, without even being charged, framed charges. A death sentence was implemented against him. So here we are meeting in honor of them and to understand what kind of a state, what kind of an unjust state is being continued in this country. I would like to take only 5-6 issues of concern about which not only us, not only those 16 incarcerated in jail, but the whole of India, the whole of 140 crore citizens have to ponder upon, have to think about, have to take action, have to move, have to agitate. The first thing is, this is a false case. There is no case at all. Somebody had done a mischief, somebody had done violence, somebody had killed people, somebody had destroyed vehicles, somebody had beat up people, particularly Dalits, who were celebrating 200th anniversary of Bhima Koregaon valor. Those people were immediately charged. An FIR was registered on January 2nd, 2018, naming Shambhaji Bide, an RSS guru, whom even our Prime Minister Narendra Modi calls Guruji. Narendra Modi was accompanying Shambhaji Bide in Pune and around Pune, and in all the meetings, Narendra Modi called him Guruji. He was the main perpetrator of the violence. He was the main conspirator of the violence. The second conspirator, Milind Egbote, another RSS goon who was named in many cases, was behind this violence. But the first charge sheet of January 2nd, 2018 was not acted upon. Police did not take any action. Police did not initiate any action. Even now, after 4 years of that FIR, after 4.5 years of that FIR, Shambhaji Bide is not even named. Milind Egbote was arrested and released within a week on bail. But those who supported the victims, those who stood by the victims, those who wanted action to be taken against the real culprits, they were charged in this case. So that's how it's a concoction, it's a fabricated case, it's a false case. Those who perpetrated violence were let off. Those who criticized the violence, those who stood by the victims were booked under this case, and for 4 years there is no bail and they were not even let out. Second, from June 6th, June 7th, they held a press conference just after the first arrest, and Parambir Singh, who is now involved in a corruption case and who is charged in a corruption case, who was intelligence DG at that time, he held a press conference 4 years ago and showed 3 letters, 3 typed A4 sheets, and said, we found these letters in the computers of Rona Wilson and Surendra Godling. Surendra Godling is a Dalit advocate from Nagpur. Rona Wilson is a research scholar from Jawaharlal Nehru University. In those computers we got these letters, and in these letters there is an evidence that they were hatching a conspiracy to kill Prime Minister. But if that crime is so big, why didn't you take up the trial for 4 years? But actually you will be laughing. Though the personal police officers raised these charges in the press conference, those charges were not even mentioned in the charge sheet filed after 1 year. Prime Minister's assassination attempt is not there in the charge sheet. Charge sheet runs into 12,000 pages. And finally, 2 years ago, at least 3 international digital forensic laboratories, Arsenal Computing, Freedom Labs, Sentinel Consulting, these 3 organizations found and showed with evidence that these incriminating documents were introduced into the computers of the accused without any knowledge to them and using a malware. So the total evidence of the case is fake. Case is fake, evidence is fake, and what is the crime? Even according to the charge sheets, their speeches, their writings, their supposed letters. Anybody knows that for something to be called a crime, there has to be an action. But there is no action here. There are only words. And Indian Constitution allows everybody freedom of speech, and one can write letters, one can speak, one can express his opinion. So this case is unconstitutional. This is a fake case, there is a fake evidence, and it is unconstitutional. Not only that, again, you will be surprised to know, when in 2019 December, Maharashtra State Assembly elections were held. In those elections, one of the constituent parties of the government today, Nationalist Congress Party, its leader Sharad Pawar, in an open public meeting in Pune said, this case is a concocted case. This case is a fabricated case. All the investigators, investigative officers have done mischief. So if we come to power, we will investigate the investigators. We will set up a special investigation team. He said this in January in a public meeting, and he named 2 police officers who have done this, and those 2 police officers are not IPS officers, they are RSS officers. The whole conspiracy is hatched in Nagpur headquarters. But within days of Sharad Pawar's statement, Central Union Home Ministry under Amit Shah entered the scene and grabbed the case from Maharashtra government, disallowing them to set up a special investigation team, and now NIA is the investigating agency. For the last 2 years, from 2020 January to this day, NIA is investigating the case. Those see the political gimmick of this. There is no case, and when it was about to be proved that there is no case, Amit Shah entered the scene and changed the guard, and new investigative officers were appointed, and now NIA is doing the case. Another thing, as I mentioned in the beginning, no bails were granted to any of them out of 16. Only Venugopal Rao, my uncle, when he was almost on the deathbed, when we saw him 1 year ago in a hospital, he was lying in a pool of urine and he was not able to recognize anybody. When we approached National Human Rights Commission, and National Human Rights Commission impressed upon the government, finally he was sent to a hospital where he recovered, and based on that, Bombay High Court has given medical bail on conditions that he should not leave Bombay. He is still in the same medical condition, and because his age, now he is 83, his age is deteriorating and his health is deteriorating, but High Court cancelled the bail and said, for only 3 months you can stay out, for only 3 months you have to get cataract operated, and then you have to go to jail. On July 13th is the deadline. July 13th he has to go back to jail. Another person who got bail was Sudha Bharadwaj. You know very well, Sudha Bharadwaj was a professor of law. Sudha Bharadwaj was a lawyer. She was a trade unionist. She cancelled her American citizenship to stay in India and to work among workers and Adivasis. She was given bail on some grounds, which grounds apply to 7 others also. But Bombay High Court has given only bail to Sudha Bharadwaj. And you know the sad case of Father Stan Swami. He was killed. He was killed by the state. The state, Modi's hands and Amit Shah's hands are full of Stan Swami's blood. As in Shakespeare's Macbeth, it is said, what is done cannot be undone. You cannot wash away your hands of the blood. Stan Swami's blood is there. Within the jail, in the last 2 years, when the first 2 years they were in Yerawada jail in Pune, and state government, at some facilities were there, they were getting on. But in the last 2 years, when NIA has taken over the case, NIA is dictating terms to jail officials in Mumbai, Taloja jail and Arthur Road jail and Baikula jail. These 3 jails, they are lodged, and these 3 jail officials, they are not even, you know the famous case of Stan Swami, who was not allowed to use sipper because his hands were shaking because of his age, because of his Parkinson's. But he was not even given a sipper. For a sipper, we had to go to court. And now, for a mosquito net, for an ordinary fan. So everything jail authorities are dictated by NIA and not allowing any ordinary facilities. So now, it's not the question of those 16 people. Those 16 very well know that they have been, for the last 40 years, 50 years, they have been in public life. They were fighting for people, and they know what is going to happen to them. But it's a question for us. It involves you and me and all our citizens of this country. It's a question of democracy. It's a question of constitution. It's a question of fundamental rights. At least now, if we don't wake up, if we don't question this kind of injustice, the country is going to, in the last 40 years, we have been saying that what happened in Germany in 1930s, that is happening just before our eyes. We have to wake up. Unless we wake up, I think Bhima Koregaon case is a wake-up call. It's an alarm. Unless we wake up, Unless we make others wake up, this country is going to reenact Hitlerite Germany of 1930s. Bhima Koregaon is only beginning. Please make yourself, make your friends known, aware about this danger. Thank you.
உன் கடவுளை விட, உன் சாஸ்திரத்தை விட, உன் முன்னோரை விட, உன் வெங்காயம் வழக்கமாத்தை விட, உன் அறிவு பெருசு, அதை சிந்தி.